Welcome to today's Wealth Channel webinar. I'm Jimmy Atkinson, co-founder of Wealth Channel. At Wealth Channel, we help high net worth investors grow their wealth with alternative investment strategies. And today's webinar is investing in national security with Canine Consultants International. A little bit different from some of the webinars that we typically provide on Wealth Channel. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Today's webinar is sponsored by Canine Consultants International, and our two presenters today from Canine Consultants International are CEO Herman Haynes and COO Stacy Johnson. Herman and Stacy, welcome. We're going to get to you and your presentation momentarily, but first, I just want to let everyone know that yes, today's webinar is being recorded. We're going to circulate a recording of this webinar to everyone by tomorrow. And secondly, we want this program to be interactive. And here's where we're counting on our live audience. If you have any questions for Herman and Stacy at any point throughout today's presentation, please use the Q&A tool in your Zoom toolbar. Don't be shy. We want a lot of questions, and we're going to save some time toward the end of our 40 minutes here for some live Q&A with our speakers. That's right. I said 40 minutes. We've got a little bit shorter than our usual hour-long webinars. We think this one will be completed in about 30 to 40 minutes or so. So stick with us. Now, with that said, Herman, Stacy, great to see both of you. Great to meet both of you. Also, we just met a few minutes ago. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. How are you both doing?
Morning, Jimmy. Thanks for having us. I am doing great from the sunny side of San Antonio, Texas.
Hey, good morning. Well, good afternoon, Jimmy. I'm doing great from Williston, Florida, right outside of Ocala, horse country.
Fantastic. So we got Texas and Florida both represented here, and I'm from Texas myself. I'm right up the street from you, Herman, in Fort Worth, Texas. So, gentlemen, before we tee up your presentation, I had a few questions that I wanted to ask you about this unique market opportunity in this unique industry. This is not a real estate deal that we're used to typically presenting at Wealth Channel. This is an operating business dealing with working dogs and national security. So, firstly, tell us about the working dog industry. Is there a lack of supply of working dogs for our security and law enforcement agencies?
Great question, Jimmy. Yes, it is a drastic lack in dogs in our supply. We've been behind for the past 2.5 years, and the recent pandemic has made it even worse. All the agencies in the United States that use dogs, we predominantly buy them from overseas in Europe, and the Europeans have not produced the volume of dogs that they used to historically. So they're 2 years behind, and then we're in the United States another 2 years behind because of that shortage in supply. So it is an immediate drastic need that everybody is trying to jump on to get in front of.
Yeah, it's amazing. There seems to be supply chain shortages across a bunch of different industries, right? I'm thinking computer microchips for one, construction materials, you name it. There's just a couple of examples. I never would have thought that a working supply of dogs or animals would be affected as well, but you're telling me that that is quite the case. Why has this happened though? Why do we have this shortage in this country?
Well, the shortage the demand pretty much started when September 11th happened, because the canine industry has been around for many decades, but it's been in small usage. When September 11th kicked off, I was one of the first teams to deploy into that conflict. And that's when the actual demand and capability of the dogs was showcased. And then all agencies saw the true capability of what we can do as a force multiplier. And so now the demand and the supply of those assets are heightened because it is a force multiplier, and it helps save lives as we're going in and out of conflict. So we're now competing against each other with the European market to get those quality dogs first. So it pretty much who has the bigger paycheck or pocket will get first dibs, unless you are from within that network and you're a trusted agent from the US with those vendors overseas, such as I have with the Department of Defense.
So yeah, September 11th, 2001 completely changed the world. And in terms of this industry, there wasn't a huge demand for working dogs, for canine dogs, for law enforcement and for national security agencies such as TSA to the same extent as there is today. We've had canines working in law enforcement and national security for decades and decades prior to September 11th, 2001. But on that date, the need grew exponentially. You had a much bigger need for bomb sniffing dogs in our airports and our other locations all around the country, and the supply hasn't really kept up, it sounds like. So what needs to happen to correct this serious situation?
Well, first off, we need to stop outsourcing our most critical asset in the security industry, which is the canine, because we're going overseas hoping that we can purchase and receive high quality dogs. And once we import them to the US and start going through our regimented training of those assets, we find flaws and dogs that are not capable of sustaining that workload. And it is very difficult to return those dogs back over to Europeans. So we're forced to now adopt those dogs out in the United States, which complicates another domino effect on our dog population and control. So we need to born and breed our own US dogs so that everything is supplied domestically, so we can improve the quality of those canine assets. If you think of a high school football player and an NFL Pro Bowler, that'll be the difference of quality and performance when you're looking at the different types of dogs, because a German Shepherd working dog is 110% different than a German Shepherd pet. You can see it in their body structure, you can see it in their performance, and you can just see them in their stature. And that is what we're looking to breed, is a higher quality breeding working dog supply for the United States first.
Well, that's great. I'm looking forward to catching this presentation here. Today's main presentation is pre-recorded. I'm going to cue that up in a moment, and then Herman and Stacy are going to hang around for a while to answer any questions afterward from our live audience. Again, for those who may have just joined in the last few minutes, or in case you missed my earlier announcement, we're going to save some time at the end of today's webinar for live Q&A. If you have any questions for Herman and Stacy, please use the Q&A tool in your Zoom toolbar to submit any questions. And Herman and Stacy, as I'm teeing this up, I'm going to turn my attention to my main computer over here and fumble around for a minute. Herman, maybe I can start with you, and then Stacy, you can tag on afterwards. Can you tell us a little bit about your backgrounds? Because you both have some unique backgrounds serving in our armed forces, and maybe some of your experience with dogs while I get this presentation queued up. Herman, we'll let you go first.
Sure, thank you. I'm a 15-year Army combat veteran. I was a military police canine officer. I was the first to deploy September 11th, like I mentioned before, and I was the first canine team into all three conflicts, starting from Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Iraq, Afghanistan. And I spent 11 and a half years in all countries overseas, operating as a dog handler and a project manager, and manage the DoD's, Department of Defense's, largest government services to a civilian contractor, because I also helped write the white paper to create a civilian working dog service to help augment the Department of Defense's incumbent teams, because they do not have enough dog teams to go out and do their missions. So we started that program with DoD many years ago, and it just rinse and repeat with Department of State. We did their War Protective Services program as well. I exited that program to start a civilian services civilian company, which is called Global Canine Protection Group, which supplies working dog teams to Department of Homeland Security and TSA today to search all air cargo movement within the United States.
And Stacey, how about you? A little bit on your background.
Yeah, same here. I'm a U.S. Army military police veteran. I spent 15 years in. I was a military working dog certification authority appointed by the Department of Army. I spent 3 tours over in Afghanistan as a government contractor. Matter of fact, I worked for Herman. I was a country training manager. Started off as a bomb dog handler, the kennel master, to the country training manager. Also
Excellent.
left there, went over to as the West Africa business development project manager as well. So been training on police dogs for 40-some years. So yeah, we do what we do. We love what we do. Like I said, if you find a job you love, you never have to work a day in your life. Yeah,
It's a great way to put it, Stacy.
Thank you.
Great way to put it. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I wanted you to give your background because they're both unique backgrounds, I think, relatively unique, and just to drive home the level of experience and expertise that both you gentlemen have in the field. And with that, I'll play our presentation for today.
Today we'd like to present to you the Canine Consultants International Investment Opportunity. Let me start by telling you a little about our company. Here's what the existing problem is. According to the American Kennel Club, the United States is forced to pay high prices and compete for a shrinking supply of dogs that aren't genetically perfect and come with increasing health issues. The United States is at risk for supply interruption of working dogs. Because we currently rely heavily on other countries for our animals, we do not control the quality of the animals we receive. We believe the solution to the problem is a rather simple one. According to the American Kennel Club, our most crucial component of public safety and security should not be outsourced from overseas. By breeding dogs in the United States, we are able to stop outsourcing our national security. In addition to that, by utilizing a 20-plus year specimen bank, we will be able to track generations of bloodline, helping us to control the quality of breeding stock. Here are the key ways we distinguish ourselves from others in our industry. We are putting our knowledge, experience, and lessons learned to good use. First off, we have developed a database to track and catalog lineage, pedigrees, medical records, and KPI. Key performance indicators. Additionally, we are scalable to meet demands in the short term and sustainably on a year-to-year basis. And lastly, through our custom-purpose bred working dog program, which ensures the highest quality of dog into the field. Here's a little bit about the animals and services we deploy in the field. Dogs within our breeding program have been carefully chosen from top pedigrees across the country. Our hands-on experience in the field, combined with our database, will produce a significantly higher level work and life expectancy for each dog. And the certifications that we will provide through our breeding program will not only meet, but in most cases, surpass the European standards, which is currently recognized by the industry. So who are our customers? In essence, our customers are all the national security agencies we see on a daily basis. Whenever we go to the airport, whenever we see a police unit, whenever we look at a conflict zone. They include the Department of Homeland Security, the Transportation Security Administration, Bureau of Customs and Immigration, Department of Defense, and all of the local police and sheriff departments that keep us safe on a daily basis. Each one of these government agencies has a mandate to expand the number of working dog teams from its current levels in a rapid period of time. We believe that our solution can greatly assist these agencies in meeting that mandate. As you can see, there is a significant market opportunity that exists here. According to the United States Government Accountability Office, as of February 2022, about 5,100 working dogs served the federal government in 40 federally managed programs within 8 departments and 3 independent agencies. Some of the affected agencies are Department of Defense, Department of State, Department of Homeland Security's TSA division, and lastly, local law enforcement agencies and private security companies. Each of these agencies' needs must be significantly enhanced to meet the mandates imposed upon them. The local law enforcement's canine divisions require significant increases in the number of teams they deploy. There are over 205,000 canine police officers employed in the United States currently. Each of those officers needs a certified working dog, and this does not include any enhancements to those figures. An overview of the finances can be found below. This includes a $6 million investment, 3-year return, 3 times investor ROI, and 20% ownership. Our team. 80 years of combined industry expertise of canine operational precision in all aspects of the canine industry, including program implementation, development and management from startups, restructuring, breeding, selection, procurement, and training. For more information on this great opportunity, please contact Herman Haynes at 210-668-2381 or send an email to h.haynes@canineconsultantsinternational.com.
Well, please do reach out to Herman if you have questions about the opportunity or you want to talk to Herman about anything else. We got his phone number and his email address up there. One thing that I noticed in the presentation, gentlemen, is that you already have a built-in customer, which is the federal government, which has already earmarked budget toward this very need. And if there's one thing I know about the federal government, it's that they love to spend their budget. So just something for potential investors to keep in mind. If you have any questions for Herman or Stacy, please do use the Q&A tool in your Zoom toolbar. We've got a few questions already coming in. I'll start firing them off to you, gentlemen. And I'll turn the screen share off in a minute, but just wanted to keep it up there for at least another minute or two, just so everybody can get your phone number and email address. I'll post those in the chat here in a minute as well. The first question is, what's the timeline to train and deploy a dog? How long does it take typically?
So typically, the industry standard is an 8-week process, and that could go 8 weeks to a couple of months. It depends on the canine that you have training the specific task. So their learning curve is similar to it like a 2-year-old. You have to be able to get their attention and motivate them to do things, because you cannot reason with a dog, right? So you have to find methodologies that can speed up their learning curve to accomplish a task. But because of our wealth of knowledge and our research and development, we have been able to decrease that to a 4-week process, half the time it takes the normal industry to complete the training.
Good. Another question coming in here from the audience. Is this an existing business or is it a startup? Where are you guys in the stage of this business right now?
We are in that in-between stage. So Canine Consultants itself can be considered a startup, but because of the things that we've done over the years to this point, we are ready to close some great opportunities because we have been strategically laying this roadmap out since 2010, to be honest. Not knowing the pandemic was going to kick off, but I knew way back in the day that the government agencies did not have the throughput to sustain the mission tempo, and they needed additional assistance, which was why I helped create a civilian working dog program for the government. And that has just taken off because the government saved trillions of dollars using civilian contract working dogs. And then the demand for the supply just continued to increase from there on. So it is a great opportunity. We have a merger and acquisition that we're ready to close within 30 days on a property that is adjacent to an already existing 70-acre property we have in Florida, so that we can produce the volume that's needed to supply our domestic need for working dogs.
All right, well, I'm going to skip ahead to this question that just came in. We've got a few other questions that came in ahead of it, but I think you just touched on it. Where are you training these dogs now? Are they all in, is it Ocala, Florida, or where in Florida or elsewhere around the country?
Yeah, we're in Williston, Florida, right outside of Ocala on the 73-acre property that currently I have 62 dogs in training, and we are printing 25 puppies at this time. So those dogs, we got a current value of that stock of about $930,000. We got $1 million worth of equity in the property already and have the potential to use some of the property for our development down the line.
Good. Question here. What does an untrained dog cost you guys? And how are you sourcing those dogs oftentimes?
A green dog at this time, what we consider a green dog has potential to be a police dog, but has no training. It's running about $6,500. We've in turn flipped that dog, sell it for $18,000 at a minimum. And with the training with the dog and the handler in an 8-week course or 12-week course, depending on the level of the students that we're bringing in, it can hit all the way up to $33,000 per team.
Okay. By the way, I did take my screen share off, but I did post Herman's phone number and email address in the chat. So you can find the Zoom chat in your Zoom toolbar if you wanted to write that down, copy that down, and reach out to these gentlemen about this opportunity. Question here from David. He wants to know, what is the minimum investment? Is it $25K, $50K, $100K? What are you asking for from potential investors right now?
Well, let me answer that question by saying that we do not want your money now. We would just prefer commitment and a pledge for those funds. But the minimum will be $100,000 because we're strategically laying out the roadmap and the foundation to grow this to scale to answer the need for 5 government agencies simultaneously. And because of the soft buzz out in the canine industry, some international players also reached out and heard about it, and they have requested us to help them develop a similar program on the international market, because we have worked with our NATO forces for many years while we're deployed overseas, and we have supported their agencies as well with U.S. dogs, and they understand the capability of how to utilize that U.S. canine asset in their forward deployments as well. So they're also interested in a U.S. born and bred canine asset.
Very good. What are some of the usual expenses over the training period? Like per dog, what kind of expenses do you have, and how much are the expenses that you typically allocate per dog?
Well, you got to deal with, we got labor, we got, kennel staff, of course, you got dog food, medication. Roughly about, for puppies coming up, we're spending probably $2,000 a year on puppy food growth and getting that dog prepared to be a police dog.
Good. Let's see. Another question here is, what are you guys charging the agencies that you're selling these dogs to? What's the price per dog essentially, and at the time when they're delivered?
Well, if you're talking about green dogs, the federal government, President Trump, he made it in the Buy American Act. He put the price tag up from 8,000 to 12,000 per dog.
And has that adjusted for inflation in the last 2-3 years here?
Of course, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yes, Jimmy, and that
Go ahead,
Stacy
Herman.
mentioned that is for a untrained dog. So
Okay.
once you start training that canine asset to whatever that end product is supposed to be, so if we take a bomb dog, the value of that bomb dog is well north of $30,000.
Okay. So I think that was what that questioner was getting after was how much are you charging your customers for the dog? So you're being able to acquire them for $12,000. You train them and then you sell them for 30. Is that right?
Yeah, on the government side, that is an average across
Okay.
the government agencies. On the civilian working dog industry, we're purchasing average about $6,500 for a untrained, and we train them all the way through, and that could be anywhere from $18,000 to $25,000. Because of the purebred and the credentials and certificates and pedigrees that we're introducing to the market, is going to be on that higher end of the market.
Got it. So that kind of dovetails into this next question that just came through is, where did it go? Sorry about that. What are the, what are some of the different customers that you have? Who are your customers? What are the primary agencies that Canine is targeting immediately for sales?
I'll take that question. So currently we're talking about all of the U.S. government agencies. So in my career path, I have been fortunate to develop the Department of Defense's program. I was one of their incumbent handlers, trainers, kennel masters, and program managers. And I developed their civilian working dog program over the years. And then I transitioned from the Department of Defense to Department of State's civilian working dog program, putting canine teams to the U.S. embassies and consulates overseas. And then I transitioned from the Department of State to what my former company is doing, Department of Homeland Security and TSA, searching all of the air cargo shipments that are moving throughout the United States, because the cargo shipment was not being searched at 100%. You were getting searched with your bags at the TSA check-in, and the belly of the plane was filled with luggage, and the other half was filled with cargo that was not searched on that plane that you were flying on. So Congress put into law that 100% of all moving cargo within the United States have to be searched by proven technology, and they made the canine the first technology in front of the X-ray machine, because the canine can search it faster than the X-ray machine.
Oh, very interesting. A lot's changed, right, in the last few years, a couple of decades or so, for sure. Another question here asks about your funding. How much capital have you raised to date from investors? And do you have any of your own money put into this business?
Oh, yes. With all the companies that I've helped start in the past, I always have skin in the game. And the company that I just did an exit with, Global Canine Protection Group, I invested money into that company over the 5 years, grew it to an $86 million company. My partners pocketed $36 million in their personal pockets in 5 years through the pandemic. I started my exit strategy. I sold 100% of my shares of that company to invest into this new program, because this was the program that I was strategically laying out over the years. And today I have well over $600,000 and counting to get this program started. I was fortunate enough to talk to Senator Rogers 4 years ago and gave him the blueprint on what the United States needed to help assist in a U.S. breeding program. And he has went full force, got it passed into legislation, and they have trillions of dollars set aside for a U.S. entity, university, or private sector company to help the U.S. establish a breeding program for us to insource.
Well, that's great. So you've got over $500,000 of your own money in this business already. I always like to see that. I always like to ask, hey, GPs or operators, do you have any of your own money invested. That's always important. So good for you, Herman. Let's see a few more questions here. How many dogs are you training currently, and what is the current value of that stock of dogs that you have?
I got 62 dogs on hand right now, 37 adults that we have in training ready to go on contracts, and we got 25 puppies that are being imprinted at this time. So we got roughly about current value is about $930,000.
$930,000 worth of value just in the stock you have right now. Herman, go ahead. You were about to interject, I think.
Yes, I would like to piggyback on that as well and say that we're also trying to change the narrative, right? So with the quality and standard that we're breeding for the United States, you can equate that to a thoroughbred in the horse equestrian industry. The thoroughbred racehorses come with pedigrees and everything that's trackable to include their past performances if they won at the Kentucky Derby as well. All of our breeding stock have world champion bloodlines that we're producing from. But we currently own and have the top 3 world champions within our breeding stock to produce those pedigrees and bloodlines for the United States, which is something different that the other canine companies are not doing. They're small mom and pop shops that breed dogs in the backyard. That's unregulated. They're not held to any particular standard operating procedures, and we're going to change that narrative to produce a better quality dog for our security.
No, that's great. So these are very high quality. These are top notch dogs that you're training. Let's see, another question coming in here. Are you an existing contractor with the government currently? Are there any contracts that are currently in place that you can speak to?
Yes, for Canine Consultants International, no, we're not currently operating with any particular agencies, but Herman Haynes and Herman Haynes prior companies, yes, we work under the Department of Homeland Security TSA's umbrella, but we find our own customers to help support that program. This business line is going to be contracted directly to Department of Defense, Department of State, and all of our local law enforcement community to sell them the quality dogs firsthand.
It sounds like a lot of the value of the business is in you, Herman, actually, and you as well, Stacy, just the contacts you have, the relationships that you've built up over the courses of your careers, and also the expertise you have in training the dogs. But you've got lines into a lot of these potential customers. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so let me piggyback on Herman. We have a lot of international interests, as he said before, that agencies want us to come in and set up the entire dog program. But like I say, they'll be secondary. We're taking care of our own first, and everybody else thereafter. But we will be taking care of everybody in the U.S. first before those dogs go out to anyone else.
Good.
And I was fortunate enough. I was fortunate enough in my career to work directly for those government agencies, TSA, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense, Department of State, because they hired me as a civilian to go and forward deploy to help do the stuff I'm doing today. And then I was also an active military service member doing the same mission when September 11th kicked off. So I have deep ties with those agencies, and the people that are in charge of those programs now are our colleagues. We came through the ranks with those people, and now they're in charge of those programs, and they know what we have done throughout the past years. So we are well tied into those agencies.
Very good. You mentioned a few minutes ago that you're not actually accepting investment dollars right now. You're really just looking for potential investors to give you their commitments or their pledges. This question asks, when will you act on those pledged investment commitments? What's your plan there?
Well, we're scheduling a closing on a great opportunity that's adjacent to our 73-acre facility in Florida, and it's an existing canine breeder that is of top quality, and he fits all of the requirements and standards that we're looking for within a bloodline to enhance the working dogs. So we're looking at a 30-day benchmark to hit some milestones. And then shortly thereafter is when we'll be looking to accept investments. But feel free to reach out and send us some inquiries. We'll have a link to where you can go on and vet yourself as an investor to make sure that we cover all of our sides, our rules, and then we'll go from there and try to get this thing going. Because like I said at the beginning of the hour, we're 2 years behind, and we cannot bring a working dog to the service market at least until they're 9 to 10 months of age, and I can't buy that.
Very good. Yeah, we just had a comment come in on the Q&A section here. It said, your dogs are like Olympic athletes. I think that's a good way of putting it. Or I liked your thoroughbred racehorses analogy earlier also. It's like, these are the Kentucky Derby winners among German Shepherds, basically, right?
See, and the great thing about that, Jimmy, is the banking institutes understand that thoroughbred racehorse industry because they lend money to those horse breeders and trainers because they understand those pedigrees on the horse side. No one on the canine side has ever tied the language together. And that's the narrative we're trying to mold to show that these dogs are in lock and step with those thoroughbred racehorses. Because we are out there saving lives every day while you're flying your loved ones to come and visit you in Fort Worth, Dallas, in Fort Worth, Texas, Jimmy.
That's great. I love it. And again, these gentlemen, it sounds like they're not asking for any money today. They're looking for commitments, minimum investment, $100,000 in this opportunity, and probably going to do a capital call. It sounds like within the next 30 to 60 days or so. Herman, Stacy, I think we're kind of winding down here, running out of time. I'm going to close down in another minute or two here to get everybody out of here after 40 minutes. I promised 40 minutes. We're at the 39 minute mark, roughly. Any final words or final thoughts from either one of you before we let everyone go?
Yes, I would just like to stress that this is by definition a pure play. All we have to do is get in line with the U.S. government, and they will hand us a blank check. And that was through that conversation I had with Senator Rogers several years ago. He moved light years faster than what I thought because as a government, I thought it was going to be slow. But he has got it in. They have trillions of dollars set aside. My colleagues at Auburn and said they wanted to contribute, and they received $26 million within 2 weeks. So this is a sure play. It is simple. We're trying to keep it as simple as possible, Jimmy.
No, and that you are, and I really appreciate you guys bringing this opportunity in front of my group at WealthChannel today. Really interested. It's a great unique type of opportunity. Well, we're at just about the 40-minute mark, so that's all the time we have for today. We're going to try to get everybody out of here on time. We really want to thank you, Canine Consultants International, and thanks to Herman and Stacy for presenting today. And also a special thank you to you, our audience, for watching today's presentation. To watch more of our podcasts, webinars, and events at WealthChannel, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can head to wealthchannel.com/YouTube, and you'll also make sure to be the first to get notified of when this recording of this webinar is available. That's wealthchannel.com/YouTube. That concludes today's programming. Thank you, everyone, very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Herman. Thanks, Stacy. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks, Scott. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for letting us share our
Likewise.
story.